Welcome to our newest series we are starting called Across State Lines, a series where we dissect and speculate the most notorious cold cases of each state. For our debut, what better place to start than from the top of the order, Alabama.
What should we say? What's like a sophisticated-ish thing to say?
Something that encapsulates who we are and why we're doing this.
Just two guys who think that unsolved crimes are fascinating.
Yeah, just two dudes who have a yearning for justice. I guess what you just said. I'm Sean.
I'm David.
Perfect. That's all you guys need to know.
The Brasher-Dye Disappearances. March 3rd, 1956, Jefferson County, Alabama. Two brothers, Billy and Robert Dye, and their cousin, Dan Brasher, were spending their rainy Saturday night at Dan's mother's cabin. Later that night, they left the cabin to go to some common party and drinking spots. At this time, Robert's wife, Audrey, was with them. Witnesses report that an argument broke out between the three. At 1:30 a.m., they returned to Robert's home to drop off his wife.
First of all, kind of baller that he's like, all right, yeah, wife, you can come with me, and then now it's time for the boys. Like, we're going back out or whatever, right?
Saturday night is for the boys.
They then went to Billy's girlfriend's house for a party. According to witnesses, they encountered a local bootlegger at the party. Even though the 1933 prohibition on alcohol was no longer in effect, moonshine and bootleggers were thriving in Alabama.
And I think it's because there was taxation on the alcohol that was being sold. It was like some crazy tax. So these hillbillies are just like, we'll make it ourselves and not get taxed or whatever. It was a lot of poor farmer people that were doing it.
Gotcha. So kind of a way to like ban it without banning it.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like what there's some country that's doing that with cigarettes. We're like, instead of banning it, we're just going to jack up the price. Or like even marijuana, where it's like, instead of banning it, we'll just profit off it and you buy it and we tax it.
Bootlegging was no petty crime either. It pioneered organized crime in the U.S.
And then, so there are what you would call a mule equivalent of a moonshiner, like transporting the moonshine. What they would do is they would deck out their cars, like the suspension, the exhaust, make it go faster to outrun the police so they wouldn't get caught. And that directly led to what we now have as NASCAR. So,
Like, actually?
yeah, so NASCAR is directly derived from bootleggers jigging out their cars to escape the law, which is pretty cool, actually.
Bootlegging hillbillies.
Exactly.
Fast and Furious in the 50s, bro. That's actually sick.
Rumor had it, the three men had been stealing from this bootlegger. Dan's mother's official statement has the three men returning to Dan's mother's cabin anywhere from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. just to go back out on the rainy night in Billy's green 1947 car.
Fantastic idea while you're wasted.
No, yeah, really. And I doubt that they cared about designated drivers at that moment, right?
Little did anyone know, the car and these three men would never be seen ever again, leading to Alabama's most notorious cold case. Having said all that, let's look into some theories that could possibly explain what happened to the fate of these three men that dreadful night. Theory number 1. The three men died in an accidental car crash. If you remember, it was a Saturday with heavy rain all throughout the night. Not to mention it's most likely the men were heavily intoxicated from all the drinking and parties they were going to. Just to add fire to the flame, the road they were last thought to be driving on is in the middle of nowhere with barely enough room for one car, and even less illumination. One misinput and the car is off the road, plowing through the trees.
And I mean, you saw the road they were driving on. It's in the middle of nowhere.
Gosh, it's so bad.
Like, imagine a dirt road, only one car can fit, and you're just surrounded by walls of huge trees. Now imagine that. You're wasted. You got two more idiots in the car with you who are your buddies, and it's raining. Like, the odds they even got out of, like, down their street, if they did, is remarkable, because I can't think of a worst case scenario of driving.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were all sorts of like little lakes and streams, bodies of water, like things that would have been flooding while it's raining, right?
No, yeah, where they lived was surrounded by tons of bodies of water. So it's like the road could have very well not even been a road at that point and just been flooded water.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Recipe for success.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also worth pointing out that the area in which they lived is surrounded by bodies of water. Driving on slick, sketchy roads while drunk, they could have fallen off the road, crashing into trees and shrubs, killing all 3 men in the process, just for their car to land in some water and sink to the bottom, never to be seen again. The only setback with this theory, however, is the fact that the search parties covered 20 to 25 square miles looking for the men in their car, even using an airplane to get an aerial view over 3 counties, just to turn up nothing.
And so I looked up the probability of someone crashing their car and the person nor their car ever being seen ever again.
Okay.
It's incredibly rare that happens, much less 3 dudes never seen again, right?
Interesting. All right.
So you have a huge search party, you get a plane involved, you're looking in every nook and cranny of a 25 square mile radius, and you don't even turn up a single shred of evidence. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how good airplane footage was in 1956.
True.
But I imagine it's not exactly in 4K. So whatever they picked up,
Well, maybe
have been that useful.
I don't think they're doing cameras. I think they're literally looking out the plane.
Oh, that's
Like
even
they're looking
worse.
down to see if they find a green car at the bottom of a lake or something.
Yeah, one doofus with glasses, and it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
anymore.
So I don't know. It makes the most sense that it is this, but then why haven't they found anything?
Right. I mean, you would think, especially if they went off the road. I mean, how far can you get off the road into a thick set of trees without anybody finding you?
Well, that's the thing. If they were to go off the road and crash into the trees, you'd see like absolute destruction. It'd be like these
Yeah,
nice
some obvious
row of
damage.
trees, and then there's like, well, something happened over there, but nothing. So if it weren't for the fact they didn't find anything, if maybe like a broken headlight was found, I would probably almost say with certainty they just crashed.
Yeah, we might not
But
even be talking about this.
yeah.
Headlight.
Yeah. Well, we'll go on to theory number 2. Okay.
Theory number 2. Billy, Robert, and Dan were murdered by local bootleggers for stealing from them, and their car was buried under a new highway. This theory is perpetuated by O.M. Raines, a state investigator involved in the case through 1975 in the missing men's families. The theory goes, after having come in contact with the bootleggers at the party, they were shot and killed for their reckless thievery. The world of moonshine had a strict regulation of not stealing the merchandise, but after a big whiskey hijacking happened, the Dye brothers and Dan were suspects. Dan Brasher had served time in prison for his assisting in the trafficking of bootlegging. Billy was also suspected of being a mule for the moonshine industry. Police followed his trail the days leading up to his disappearance to find he had come in contact with a suspected kingpin of bootlegging. Witness statements of gunshots that night make people think they were killed in an execution style at the party. Reports of knife attacks and fights within the moonshine community made it clear that the bootleggers at this time were having troubles. As one newspaper from 1956 put it, the trouble had to be eliminated. An example had to be made. The Dye brothers and Brasher were elected as that example.
Yeah, so not a good time to be within the moonshine community, especially if you're suspected of hijacking one of their halls, to say.
And now you've been elected to be an example, shot execution style. That would suck. That would kind of ruin your day.
There's this website I found. It was just literal scan of the 1956 newspaper.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah, and it said that. I was like, dude, they're writing straight heat in the
Yeah, man.
newspaper.
Someone writes that today, you're getting canceled.
Absolute bars, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A neighbor who lived across from the house that was having the party stated that around 2 a.m., some guys came out of the house and made a line, passing buckets full of water into the house, potentially to clean up the killings that had just taken place. Shortly after, the neighbor reports seeing men with pickaxes and shovels pile into 2 cars, one of them being Billy's green Ford. One of the cars eventually came back. It wasn't Billy's.
Disclaimer, I found one source talking about this neighbor seeing these dudes go in the car.
And how legit is this source? Was it like,
Well, so this source had some other claims about a person going into a local store the next day asking, do they have products that can clean blood and stuff like that? And I could not find any other source to corroborate any of this. And they didn't have their sources listed either. So I'm like, where are you guys getting this?
So Kenny in his mom's basement just like contributed this to our.
No, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there were reports that, yes, a neighbor saw people bringing in buckets of water into the house. I found a couple sources that corroborated that.
Okay.
But men going into the car with pickaxes and shovels and stuff,
Nothing.
not a single one. Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
take that how you will. Oh yeah, that also doesn't make any sense with Dan's mother's timeline. She said she witnessed them come back at 2 or 3 a.m. and get into Billy's car, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But if this neighbor is saying, no, I heard gunshots at 2 a.m., he's insinuating they died at 2 a.m., then what the heck did Dan's mother see or whatever, right?
Okay. You know.
So it's like
okay.
the timeline also doesn't make any sense with this neighbor. Could they have been murdered at this party? 100%.
Yeah.
But this supposed neighbors were, it kind of starts to really fall apart fast.
Police got bombarded about sights of a car being buried underneath the new construction of Highway 79 in Pinson shortly after their disappearances. Pinson is located 40 minutes away from Jefferson County. However, it wouldn't be until 17 years later, in 1972, that they finally took heed of these tips and investigated.
It took him 17 years.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? 17 years.
And I mean, if you're getting bombarded, is the word we use. So I'm assuming it's more than one or two people just being like, hey, I think there's a car buried under the friggin' highway.
Well, think about it. You get one call. You have no evidence on this case. Like, you have zero leads besides, they're probably killed because the police at this time in the 1956 paper, they're the one pressing the idea that they were killed for some bootleg-related reasons. So this was the police's theory. But they have nothing to go on besides that. Then you keep getting these tips of, yo, we saw what looked to be a green car getting buried underneath this highway. Maybe you should check it out.
And what do you happen to be looking for?
A green car, yeah.
Wow.
And you know what the police are like? Nah, we're good or whatever. So it took them 17 years. I don't know what the police were doing at that point.
Well, neither do I.
Tom Glore, Jefferson County's new police commissioner, ordered them to drill through the highway. 3 years later, he and the Navy used their radars to check the other side of the highway. The radars indicated a big metal something was under the highway. Metal fragments from 22 feet under the highway were sent to the FBI for identification, while they found traces of what looked to be car oil under 44 feet of the highway. Both leads led to dead ends.
So you have these people saying, there's this car under there. Please don't believe them for 17 years. And they're like, okay, we'll go check it out. And they have the scanners that are like, yo, there's something metal buried beneath here. What is it? They send it to the FBI, what looks to be car oil, and it literally leads to nothing. Like, what are the odds?
I'm not buying that. I'm not a huge, government conspiracy deep state guy, but I mean, come on. It's a huge chunk of metal. At least it's huge that you can tell, right?
Yeah.
So what's the excuse then?
Yeah, so the paper says it was pipe and wire.
That is so bad. No.
Well, you have to think, these are like high-end metal detectors. The Navy, right?
Okay. I mean, yeah.
And it's like, oh, there's something giant under here, like a giant piece of metal. And it turns out to be a pipe and some wire. Unless the wire was spread out, so it was covering a ton of surface area, and that's why they thought it was big. Other than that, I can't think of why it would have indicated there was something huge.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like it.
Oh no, David, I just got a notification. BYU lost in basketball.
You know what? It's okay. It's okay. It's always next year, next 20 years.
So it's also interesting. So they dug, and 3 years later, they had the Navy come in. So they dug, and they didn't find anything. Then 3 years later, they tried again, brought in these radars. Like, no, there is something under here. Sent it to the FBI, and they're like, it's a pipe and some wire, bro.
What took them 3 years?
I don't know.
So
I think they dug and were like, no, see, nothing's under here. And they kept trying to find new leads. Like, the only lead we have, we might as well beat this dead horse. Go all the way to the highway. Like, we're ripping through that.
Makes sense.
With years of unanswered questions, 1984 would bring a big break to the case. An ex-convict named T.J. Chambly confessed to the police that he had helped hide the bodies and the car of the three men in an abandoned mine in Trafford, a city located 40 minutes away from where the men were last seen. However, after being questioned by authorities, his story had many inconsistencies and led to zero arrests nor evidence.
So one thing we're going to probably see a lot in these cases is criminals have a propensity to claim crimes they didn't do, like for clout. That's the only reason I can think, because I'm like, why else would you do that? There's plenty of cases where it's like, oh yeah, my prison mate said he totally murked, insert name here, and they weren't even in the same state, and it's like, bro, why would you say that?
I mean, maybe our man TJ. You remember that one Florida story of the guy who like walked into a bank for armed robbery or something to get away from his wife, and they ended up putting him on house arrest, and they put him on house arrest until he died. I mean, maybe that's what TJ was trying to pull.
No, he's like, dude, I cannot be with this. Maybe he's with his family or something. Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Just saying.
But it also doesn't make any sense. He's an ex-convict. You just get out of jail. Also, I couldn't find anything on him, why he went to jail, his criminal record, nothing. So I can't tell you if the crimes he had already done would lead you to believe, okay, he's capable of hiding a body or murdering someone. So, but you just get out of jail. The report says he told the police because he needed to clear his conscience. Why would you risk that? Why would you get out of prison, then go to police confessing to a crime that is going to land you in prison for your life just to be lying? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me why he would do that.
The only route I see in that situation is the man found the Lord and was like, you know what? I gotta unburden myself.
He had a come to Jesus moment. I was like, dude, I can't live with this guilt. But like, I also couldn't find the transcript of the interrogation, nor if the police actually went and checked the mining shaft.
Sure, okay.
From what it sounded like, they were listening to his story and were like, okay, your story doesn't line up with anything we have. We're not even gonna look into it. Which they did that. Low-key shame on them. You have no leads. Go check it out. I mean, go check it out. What are you going to lose? Exactly. You have nothing to lose. So the fact that people were like, hey, we saw this thing getting buried. We heard this thing getting buried. And it turns out there's nothing under there, but there might have been something under there. I don't know. But assuming these people aren't lying, like, yo, we heard bulldozers at 3 a.m. Who's using the bulldozer at 3 a.m. this same night? These dudes go missing.
It's probably somebody hiding a body.
I don't know. That theory has the most oomph behind it.
Okay.
But at the same time, every time you think it's about to lead to something, it just falls flat on its face. So,
okay.
I don't know how much credence we can put into theory number 2.
Theory number 3. The 3 men ran away to escape the bootleg community. Now this theory is pure speculation. The 3 men would have known that they were in hot water for being suspected of the whiskey hijacking. Wanting to flee instead of face potential harm, they fled from Alabama. Lending credence to this theory is the Dye brothers were construction workers working on a new Highway 31 in Birmingham, which is only 10 miles from the highway thought to have the car buried beneath. This would give them access to machinery and the means to bury their car under Highway 79, just like the witnesses reported. The fact that no evidence was ever found of the 3 men would make sense if it's because the men were long gone from Alabama and purposely never wanted to be found.
So this theory, to me, it makes the most sense for the lack of evidence, why there's a lack of evidence.
Right. Okay.
Because these guys planned it. They're like, okay, we got to get out of here. We're going to get killed. If they hijack this thing is up in the air, nobody knows. But if I'm in their shoes, I'm like, people are attacking each other with knives in the bootleg community for probably some petty stuff. We're suspected of hijacking a whiskey haul. They'll have our heads. Like, we're hanging outside the town hall tomorrow from our toes. I mean, it makes sense. They would have had the construction knowledge to bury it. But if they're drunk, remember,
right,
our 3 wasted dudes gonna work heavy machinery to bury a car. They're not. That's the answer. They're not gonna do that.
I mean, that's something straight out of like what? Logan Lucky? Is that what I'm thinking?
Great movie. Yeah, the Hillbilly Ocean's 11. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way anybody drunk is pulling off something like this.
Yeah.
No way.
Also, they had family. Dan had a wife. Billy had a girlfriend. To never have reached out, being like, yo, we're alive, but we left for these reasons or anything, makes me doubt this even more, because it's like, who would just up and lead them? Not even 15 years later, like, what's this postcard on my note? Yo, we're alive, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So,
something from the Bahamas. Country's no extradition. You'd be chilling.
Fun fact, Yemen has no extradition.
Oh, really?
So, if you ever need to escape
Yemen
somewhere,
and Cuba.
those are probably 2 of the worst
options out there to flee
Yeah,
to.
yeah. You can
Life
probably find
ain't
something.
gonna be much better over there than in a prison here. So yeah, those are the three. In theory number 2, with them getting murdered, there was some supposed pushback from different agencies investigating to where some insider work might have been done.
Okay.
There was reports of hair being found in a mine shaft that were misplaced and never able to be identified.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay.
there's always that possibility. Now, whether it could be a mixture of these theories, I'm not too sure either. They're all pretty polar opposites, but at least 2 of them involve them being heavily intoxicated. At the end of the day, it's almost been 80 years and not a single strand of evidence has been found about these 3 guys, nor wherever they went in their car has never been found either. That's a wrap for this one. Another case unsolved.
The world may never know.
What's that from? The world may never know. That's a commercial.
Tootsie Pop.
It's a Tootsie Pop.
Yeah.
It says the world may never know. Should give me a catchphrase for this freaking series. Okay.
That's right.
Being almost 70 years later, with no proof shedding light on what happened that fateful night, whether the 3 men crashed their car due to drunk driving, were shot by bootleggers, or escaped Alabama, fearing for their lives, will remain unknown. Some might say the past is never truly dead, just hidden. We say maybe the truth will take us across state lines.
So, yeah, that is the end. Thank you guys for listening, if everyone is listening.
Our next episode will be about Alaska, just going down the chain of states, where we're going to investigate 8 murders that actually led to a conviction. So stay for that, and we'll catch you on the next one.